show of hands.
Yeah, I can ask how many of you use Jenkins.
Same number.
Yes. How much of you use GitHub?
No space at all.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I don't ask for GitLab because everything is died now with GitHub, so that's yeah.
Okay, who uses Gerrit?
Yeah, we usually get it.
In the past.
Yeah, yes, okay, okay. Well,
Still okay.
why in the past? just,
Different teams.
yeah, okay, I understand. But yeah, this for let's say different purpose. Gerrit and GitHub are different way to review and work with the code. So I'm not fan of GitHub, but just because my model of development working is Gerrit oriented. So
Someone blocked this easy hotel, maybe key card, not sure what this. It will be with me. But I will figure it out, not sure what this.
okay, anyway, the big difference between GitHub and GitHub Action and Jenkins is like that you take pills every day and you pay for the pills, and this is GitHub, and you're fine until the pills kill you. Or you go to a surgery.
You can now start officially.
Yeah, okay. And now you can go to a surgery for 8 hours, and after that you don't need to take the pills if you survive. Okay? So this is the big difference. Okay? I try to get the surgery operations to have fun. No? It's much more fun to get under surgery for 8 hours than forget about your problem. Okay, I'm Michael. I'm working in Amorola Solutions. I'm not really a CI/CD guy, so I start 15 years ago to do something in CI/CD just because the company needs some infrastructures and yeah, now it's coming with AI, advanced testing, and so on. So my main focus was embedded. It's still embedded, but in the weekend, a lot of weekends, let's say 2 days every weekend, I spend some time in Jenkins. Now I do some plugin contributor. And of course, I even contribute for warning NG plugin for CV extraction from Yocto, for instance, just to play a bit to see how the model was working in the warning NG. Yeah, I find that this community is really fun, the Jenkins one. This is from my university, and say that basically if you want to be an engineering, say you need to be prepared to go around the world. And this, of course, things are improving now. I go with the bicycle, so not anymore like this. So now I move like this, so that's quite fun. Because I'm in Sicily, car is not needed, let's say, put it this way. It's better to, what is continuous integrations. Seems that is a kind of topics that everyone knows, but in my experience, but maybe you are lucky more than me, the fact in a lot of companies that if they have already a good release process is already a good thing. But not everything is moving so fast. The new startup, the new company that I've seen appearing, yes, they use extensively continuous integrations, paradigm, and so on. Why we use Gerrit? Because Jenkins is not really a system that you do code reviewing, you interact with the user, you cannot, Jenkins is only a fantastic way to trigger your builds, or to execute your jobs. Let's say that Jenkins can execute any jobs, it can fix any kind of infrastructure problems, and it does not depend in any lock-in technologies. It's Apache licensing. I think that's under the head now on the Continuous Integration Foundation, so it's quite nice. But and you can figure out and imagine with your fantasy any kind of things that you want to have in your infrastructure, and then you need to ask if this exists. If it doesn't exist, as an open source developer, you can just create. If it's created, you can just improve. So that is the way why I'm in this. Yeah, the goal is, is the solid goal. We want to define the bugs. We want to, our cycle of developers is with fun and so on. This is the tools that I use. Again, you can see apart SonarQube, but there is open source. I mean, there is part of SonarQube that is open source. All the other things are completely, open source tools for static analysis, static code checker, Gerrit, explain plugin with AI, Jenkins, Gerrit AI plugin, SonarQube, Mattermost. Everything is almost open source. So yeah, it's fine. You can have everything that you have consider other ecosystem, but what is maybe it's a bit difficult is to start with it. So there is not an easy, you don't create a repository in GitHub and you everything's there and you have your GitHub actions. You need to spend some time. But when you have spent some time, you have Jenkins, so you have completely control of what you are doing. You have you can continue to improve your pipeline. You are not limited to anything because you have any plugins that you want. If you don't have, you create it. You have administration. You can maintain your plugin. You can decide to store your artifact in S3, in Azure, whenever. You can have your runners inside your company. You can have runner in the clouds. You can have runner connect to the SSH. You can have runner connect to WebSocket. You can have runner on Windows, in Apple. Yeah. So what Jenkins offer? Okay, for my type of ecosystems, we need to a way to trigger job within Gerrit and Jenkins. I personally use Gerrit Trigger. There is another implementation for Gerrit Forge that use another paradigm to do the trigger. It's okay, it's fine. The problem that Gerrit Trigger that I hope that I'm going to solve this year is to create a way to use HTTPS for triggering event much more fluently and not only SSH connection and so on to get rid of this. But yeah, it can trigger, okay, when I trigger, in GitHub you have the concept, the wrong concept of pull request. The worst things that people create is the pull request. Some people that create 20 patches and people that review only the pull request as a huge, giant piece of code and does not understand what is in each part of the code, what is this patches is needed. It's clean up. Yeah, always get along things. They just said change this one. They just add a new commit on top of it. Okay, it's not with Gerrit. Is committed oriented. It means that we are going to review each commit. We can trigger builds that verify each commit on your pull request. Call it pull request. Because in Gerrit we have the concept of topic, that is a concrete number of commits that implement functionalities that makes to have the same functionality in CDI as a pull request. So you can build the entire topics as once, verification build, or you can build single things. So it's really quite interesting and powerful. And there is a lot of reason that we need in our field to build each commit because we want our code to be bisectable. And we want our code to be well documented. So Gerrit help improve this or enforce this to developers. Then, okay, artifact manager in Jenkins, you can use any artifact manager. You can connect to S3. Personally, I use S3. Then we have lockable resources. Sometimes you need to contend between jobs. You have limited hardware resources. You want to. Then we have what you have in the other tools. The one in the G that permit me to have any kind of analysis, static analysis, collection of problems, put on the thread page, and so on. Now we have recently worked with the guys that from China. The explain error plugin that was quite nice. Was introduced to use AI to interpret a bit result. It's for free. I mean, for free. If you take Chinese AI, it's basically for free. If you want to spend more money, you can take other AI that it was very expensive. Right now, because it's log build, I try to figure out how those Chinese AI works, and that was pretty good. Yeah, that's why we're adopting. Yeah, let's try to improve things. Okay, the things I try to just go fast here because I want to give some example how the things I used. So code review for us is a basic steps for improved code quality. I know that now people tend to generate code by AI, let the code review by AI, let the AI inject the fix inside the code. So the role of the developer starts to be not, but I want in the company that people progress and have an overview how the code should be done. So what we use in AI is how the AI can improve the code review phases, how the AI can down a bit the problems, the entry problems that a design can have when you push some code. So, but AI code review, it's we start it to understand what can be the AI code review, and we implement a plugin. We fork a plugin from a community, right? Another Chinese guy that started, and then we just recently changed in review AI plugin as a name. It's not the official one in Gerrit, because we have a large discussion and forget about it. So they just have 10 commits in some very old version that we provide. And now we integrate the LangChain, Java for chain to support multiple backend. The same concept I implement in explain error plugin to allow us to use any AI that we want. So the concept is very basic. The comments that you can inject inside the Gerrit interfaces, you can point to the AI to ask to review some part of code or to re-review the code. The review of the code can start, let's say, automatic every time that you push a change, or it can be the CI that push a curl request on a post over the Gerrit to say, okay, now review because the tests are passed and so on. So the problem of the AI, of course, is the AI is like it's like someone that in your apartment you don't like him. So it's someone that you find any kind of error in what you are doing. I was student, you don't dish the wash, you don't do the wash machine, you forget the door open. This is the AI. It's always find something. I don't understand why it's possible, but okay. So what we try to do in the company is to try to make sense of, let's say to the AI, okay, this is something that we want to do, and try to accept what is really needed, because we never seems that it's difficult to make her happy, but because our AI is able to vote, is able to provide some things, and so it's very annoying, and I don't try to make the AI able to vote -2. That in Gerrit means you cannot able to push. But the fact that the AI can not only review the code, that is one thing, but in my opinion, it will review even your commit message over the code. So if what you describe is corresponding what you wrote. Because it's annoying for me to review, like I was in a company, corporate, and one guy sent me a patches of 2,000 lines of code. I said, smell something strange. I do diff -w, and it was 15 lines. It was just mess up all the indentation everywhere. So I said, okay, just repush where the 4 lines of code should be there. So it's very important that the commit message, what you present, is consistent with the commit message. And this can be done easily by the AI, because the AI found that your commit message is not descriptive, your commit message miss some part that you need to add, and so on. And we started to continue this plugin. We implement a lot of things. So basically what we try to do is to create a certain interaction. Even we create a way to debug it. So we can dynamically change the prompt. We can dynamically change some parameters of the AI, because we need to experiment. It's in the beginning we are not able to figure out what will be needed. So at now we are still improving. Recently we even create a way to give instruction to the AI. So to say that you can commit in your project like AI instruction.markdown. So it will do analysis, it will add to the prompt. Each project can have its own prompt. So we try to figure out what we can, now everything is open source. Of course, it's in Gerrit Hub. And then it's mirrored in GitHub. So every people that love GitHub they have there, but the main project is in Gerrit Hub. That is a way to use Gerrit, then push back to GitHub. Yeah, so I put some trivial example for some times ago, but basically what it's doing is that pointing out to the context and review it. Now the plugin has several ways to work. It can work only on the context of the patch, or it can work in upload mode. It means that it will pull things that is not known. So if you have some C file that you have some function that it doesn't find in the context, but he wants to understand why this was changed, he tries to pull the files that contains the information that he needs to continue to review. It's not easy. We have still problems connected to the fact that if the AI is not triggered after testing, after build, it's still it spoke too much, basically. And I'm able to interact with AI. So we can ask questions, and we have interactive comment. There is some drawback about, because Gerrit save each messages that is even reply as Git information. So this can scale a lot the memory that the Git data that is stored by Gerrit to maintain the threads. But it's the same of the code review. So the line command properly, we have a lot of commands, but this will ask to review. And you can ask to review, discard all the old comments that it was done before. So yeah. So the plugin roadmap is very simple. So we want to basically give the possibility to understand what was the results of the test of the builds. So you have more information back to review. And we want to reintegrate it on the Gerrit API because they do a lot of improvement in 3.13. And we want that our comment can be a suggested change in the code. So apply these changes. So the user can directly apply the suggested code. But it's open source. So we hope that something will happen. Okay. The testing. Yeah. The testing. Then we show something. So we want to basically have a way to test our code. So it's nice to collect things over testing, but what I understand, I'm coming from the age where people write code and just forget about testing. They say the code is working, it's perfectly written. Okay, but now it's every people that join the company since the last 6 to 7 years, they've already had the concept that each part of the code should be tested. So we need to design the code to be testable, and it's not only the CI is not the way to. You said if you have the CI, you don't test the code. By the CI, you need to design your code to be testable. So what the CI can help is to collect all this information through the testing. And create the tools can generate output as we described in the provisional call, and we get this output and interpret this output through Jenkins. And let's see how this can be done in Jenkins. So how can Jenkins help to run testing? I will show you basically how Jenkins can collect the result coming from JUnit or unit testing, or how Jenkins can provide and collect information from tools like Labgrid. I don't know how much of you use Labgrid in hardware integration for continuous integration, but okay. It's just a way of wrapping of resources that you connect to your hardware, and we'll see later, and you can create easy pipeline using PyTest to test your hardware. So that is the concept. So what I mentioned. So you need to decide the code in order to be testable. So it's not important that recently we done some IoT design firmware with Netherlands and the office in Netherlands, and the lead designed the IoT in another way that we can generate the test for this IoT and for have like around 79 or 80% of coverages of the code, and create all the abstraction that allow to test all the part of the IoT. So if we design the code in a proper way, then we can come out with trend statistics, and this can happen when you generate the releases. You can happen if you have like verification build, you can create a gate. If you have, everyone know that if you have unit test, you can generate code coverage, because without unit test, you code coverage when anything. Then you can run the mem checking, use Labgrid, and then you can everything that you can check at the time the CI is better to implement. We even check documentation warnings, CMake file warnings. So everything that can, let's say, reduce the time to review code that is not satisfy our standard should be integrated in the pipeline. So we want only to review buildable patch. So CI can run and test several build configurations and run because we have those important things that we discuss it, that we want to build the basic capability. So we don't like GitHub for that one, for instance. It's one of the problems. Then we want, if we want really to work as a GitHubs or a GitLab, we want to use topic build. But the topic is more sophisticated than pull request. Topic is across multiple Git. So a topic can be a change set that is in 3 or 4 Git repositories. So when you verify an operating system, you want to apply all the topic across to all the repository and build as a bundle. So a topic is a concept that is across multiple Git, and this Gerrit is possible because you can create connection between pull requests or between things in the different repositories. This is the reason why it was created by Google for Android. Okay, this is an idea of topic build trigger. So you have the patch set, the Gerrit trigger, get it the instance, and run the job and execute the test. So nothing more. And then this is a new stage view. This is the new Jenkins stage view, pipeline graph view that is even better now. That show the steps. You can store the green are the steps, and these are where what is going on. And this was the result up to Gerrit. So Gerrit is constantly connected what happened here. You will have a notification back to your job. Yeah, this is what happened in a standard Jenkins unit test pipelines. There is some, then in the slides there are some wiki that remind how to create them. But basically what you are trying to do is that you want at some point to perform the test, and then you have a parallel block in Jenkins that all the tests can be run in parallel and execute all the testing features. Yeah. There are some examples how to use code checker or warning NG in the slides, but yeah, I prefer you to see. Okay, I want to talk more about now what we have testing. We have unit testing. We can accumulate things. Now we are not only testing firmware, but how we increase all our pipeline, our element together to cover all the things like hardware testing. Okay. Now, last year we started to have projects that allow us to test hardware, so we opted for Labgrid. That is basically a framework that allow to allocate resources, or call it places, to hardware, and then you can interact with those hardware through places. So basically what the CI is doing is ask for resources. If the resource is busy by other CI, there are other jobs that are running, so the CI is waiting for the resource to be free, and then get the resource automatically free. So basically it allows us to run multiple testing boards, even the resources are partially used by other jobs that are running. But when you get the resources, then you allocate it until the job is finished. Labgrid has an architecture that is basically, let you to basically have several components. What is important is to allocate to these places. You will have the client to connect to the Labgrid. Labgrid is not only used by the CI, it can be used by any user to access the resource to any devices. So we use not only to interact with the CI, but we use even to interact with the hardware. Then we have the exporter, the coordinator, the clients, very easy. The exporter is the one that has the resources connected. The coordinator is one, all the exporter give to the coordinator what they have connected to it, and the client is you that asks to the resources to execute any test. Okay, the key feature is basically the support for the hardware, so you have serial, SSH, power manager, resource allocation. So it's quite easy because they have a lot of driver information tests. And there are not nice things. I don't find a lot of testing, but I will make my things public soon, so that someone can start from there, I think. Yeah, the Labgrid configuration is done in a YAML file that you have in the nodes. So let's see, because we have not a lot of time. This is a test example in Labgrid, but I want to talk straightforward on. Okay, this is the benefits but I want to show some pipeline then. So this one, for instance, this one is a kind of pipeline that is parallel test, multiple configuration, go to Labgrid and execute all the tests. Is not, this is the DUT preparations, then this is the running test for different architectures, and then this can be run basically down, yes. Okay, that is failed because the Wi-Fi is unstable, the Wi-Fi test, so it's a warning that it's not really failed, but one gate was not passed during this pipeline. But you can find it basically there, and the pipeline. Okay, one of the things that, in all the things that I want to have in an infrastructure is understand why my build was failing. So now I adapt warning NG, as I said, multiple things. Now even the languages was added yesterday by the maintainer 2 days ago. And this is very powerful because we know why when a build failure is happening, yeah, and we have a dedicated explain error part where we can see where the error comes from, and you can find in the plugin. There is even a screenshot how it should be. Now I don't know if I have time to show you. And yes, basically my roadmap is to integrate in pipeline view and improve the nodes. So what I'm doing with the AI is that I need to find the steps that it fail, but if you have parallel step, like 10 steps, and then you fail three things together, and then the AI should not only take the first one, but go all the three, collect all the result, and give to the, okay, it failed the unit test for this reason, it failed, the mem check for this reason, it failed, for this. So the idea is now to navigate. If you want to improve the commit is this one. It's very easy. I go the tree, I go back to the first node that it failed, and then I send to the AI. And then there is a lot of useful link.
Leave it like that, sorry.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you.